Now, one of the ways that we use to deceive people is to give them the truth. Always remember that in order to deceive you, I have to tell you the truth. You see, if I always told you the truth, then you would always know the truth. But if I always lied to you, you would always know the truth. Now, if I always lied to you, you would always know the truth. So in order for me to deceive you, I would have to tell you the truth and then mix it with error. Truth plus truth equals truth. Error plus error equals error. Truth plus error equals error. So what they do is they come out and they say, hey, listen, the glaciers are retreating. They go out and look at 200 glaciers out of 160,000. And they report to you that 80% of the 200 glaciers that we have reported on, that's 160, are in fact retreating. Then they don't tell you about the 20% that are not retreating out of the 200 that they've examined. And they don't tell you about the other 160,000 out there that they aren't examining at all. That's not science, that's propaganda. Now, if in fact worldwide glaciers are retreating, and the glaciers and the 3 glaciers in Africa are retreating, so they have measured those. And here's John McCain and Senator Clinton. They're not telling you about the 20% that aren't retreating out of the 200 that they are observing. They don't come in here and say, look, there's 160,000 of these glaciers in the world. We're only looking at 200 of them. They point to 2 glaciers that are in fact retreating and say, see, they're retreating. That's caused by CO2 in the atmosphere, and we need to give a 77-cent a gallon tax increase on your gasoline in order to solve that problem. Now, boys and girls, after we have paid these people this money, it is not going to reduce the amount of carbon and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere at all. That's not the way this game is being played. Let's take a big coal-fired power plant. Let's just use a number. They're putting 1,000 pounds of CO2 into the atmosphere every day. Okay? This legislation doesn't say to the offending plant, put a scrubber on your plant over here and stop putting 1,000 pounds into the air. It says that for that 1,000 pounds you're putting in the air, you got to pay us so many dollars in tax. And the amount of money that they're going to pay in tax is going to be far less than the cost of putting a scrubber on that coal-fired power plant and removing the 1,000 pounds of CO2. So they're going to pay the tax. And when they pay the tax, they're going to raise the power. All they're going to do is raise the price of the power they're producing and pass the cost along to you, the consumer. So if you think that you're going to get the power company over here to stop polluting the air because of a tax that's going to be placed upon them, you got your head up the wrong end of your anatomy again here, Bob. Let's wake up and smell the coffee. That's not the way the game is played. Now, there's another factoid that comes into play here. Corporations never pay taxes. They don't now, never have in the past. They aren't today, and they aren't going to in the future. Corporations are designed to be artificial beings that don't pay tax. They're an important part of the overall tax collecting system. I don't deny that. But ExxonMobil's never paid a nickel's worth of tax at any time for any cause or reason. Don't now and never will. They're going to collect it from you and turn it over to the government. That's true. As a part of their franchise for the monopoly that they occupy, they have to do something for it, and so the government comes along and says, okay, we're going to impose upon you this carbon tax. And the gasoline companies say, well, okay. And then the gas company, they're going to turn the price mechanism over to their accountants. And as their taxes go up, then they pass that tax increase on to you, only they put a little something in it for themselves so that they get paid for collecting the tax. So the 77 cents is for openers. It'll go up to double that. If you'll take a look at where government has come, for instance, let's just go back a few years. Do you remember George Bush when they were telling you how much the Iraq war was going to cost? Do you remember the number $50 billion? We're going to pony up $50 billion, go over and fight this war. It'll be short, sweet, and to the point, and then we'll make the Iraqis pay us back for it. So far, it's cost in excess of $1 trillion. The Iraqis ain't paid a dime. The Iraqis are making money hand over fist off of the war, and we're the guys that are paying for it. And $50 billion is a hell of a lot less than $1,000 billion. Now, $1,000 billion is $1 trillion. George Bush said that thing's going to cost $50 billion, and it cost $1,000 billion. Okay, that's just one example. Now, that's a gross example. Ordinarily, it doesn't cost, 100 or 200 times the amount. But whenever government gives you an estimate as to the cost, it's always half enough. Half. Just double it. 77 cents, double that to $1.54. That's what you're going to be paying in gasoline taxes. Only it's not going to appear on the pump. I filled up my tank yesterday, and I noticed that here in our state, 34 cents a gallon for gasoline tax. 34 cents. Federal and state. When this 77 cent a gallon tax increase hits and the price of gas goes from $2.50 a gallon to $3.50 a gallon, it's not going to tell us that there's any more than that 34 cent a gallon gasoline tax. The price is going to go up by $1. But that 77 cents that's being collected is going to be put on ExxonMobil, it's going to be put on Conoco, and they're going to pass it along through, and it'll just be at the price of the gas. You will never know that this tax increase was the result of this global warming legislation. Now, the politicians and the big business enterprises that are putting this thing over on us are really good. They are skilled. They've been doing this for 100 years. It's worked every time in the past. There isn't any reason to believe it won't work perfectly this time. But I just thought I'd report on it so that you'd know about how much Vaseline you need to buy.